All right, let's go to this now. There have been mixed reaction to the Home Affairs white paper on citizenship, immigration and refugee protection. Some believe that the overhaul is long overdue, while others are saying that there may be some issues, including the capacity of the department to be able to implement some of these proposed changes. Now, the paper is out for public comment. Let's speak to Professor Hirsch, who is the director at the NSI Migration Governance Reform Project, who is joining us live now. Prof, thank you so much for your time this evening. Your brief reaction then to the white paper.
You know, it's difficult to respond. It's quite a high-level paper. It's calling for a lot of changes in refugee law, changes in management of citizenship applications, changes in the way our borders are policed, changes in many systems, and the amalgamation of three existing laws into a single law. It's very much a tightening up of the regulations, what confuses me about it is that there was a very thorough investigation into the Department of Home Affairs and all the issues that the difficulties that they had in dealing with applications and corruption and fraud by Dr. Cassius Lubisi, the former cabinet secretary. For many years, cabinet secretary, and he was asked by the Minister of Home Affairs to do a report. They did a very extensive report, made a lot of recommendations about improving systems in the Department of Home Affairs. There's not a lot of that, or very little, if any, of that is reflected in the white paper. So that's disappointing. And unlike the National Labour Migration White Paper, which came out from the Department of Employment and Labour last year, which came out with accompanying draft legislation, this paper doesn't, as far as I can tell, I've looked for it, I can't find any draft legislation, so it's difficult to know exactly what's being proposed in all respects.
And of course, it also talks about, some of the proposals. It's that border control must be coupled with, immigration as well. And speaking to, some people on this particular paper yesterday, they were saying that they are trying to understand how all of this will be done, particularly given what has been happening in some of our borders as well.
Yeah, it seems like what they would like to happen is that currently we have a situation where the legal process allows people to come into the country irregularly, to not apply for any kind of status at all. When they are detected one way or another, then they may apply for asylum. And while they are applying for asylum, they're entitled to all kinds of social benefits. And what this law, one of the many things it's trying to do is to say, if you're going to apply for asylum, you have to do it at a port of entry. There will be asylum officers at the port of entry, and you will be assessed and a decision will be made, and there will be specific courts that will address any appeals in terms of that. So they're trying to tighten up the process, and because there's an underlying assumption in this white paper that many people are using the asylum system in South Africa as a cover for economic migration. And, they see it as economic migration by perhaps relatively unskilled people who are competing with South Africans for jobs. And as we know, there's a lot of unemployment in South Africa, so it's a major political issue. So I think this white paper has to be seen in political terms as well.
And I wonder, what does it all then mean for the, what we've been hearing about over the course of the years now, which is free movement, freer travel, which is something that also has been talked about, especially around the continent as well.
Well, at the same time, the Department of Home Affairs has opened up new opportunities for South Africans. So we can travel to every other SADC country except for one or two without a visa. Recently, I went to Kenya and I was able to go without a visa. If I went to Ghana today, I would be able to go without a visa. I think there are negotiations with Uganda. So there are processes underway to deepen our relationships and to make it easier for us to travel to other countries where we have a strong bilateral relationship. And I think that means that the government, our government, considers the systems in the other country to be reliable, that they won't be sending people with Kenyan passports, for example, to South Africa who are criminals or terrorists or any other sort of danger to South African society. So there's a level of trust with some governments. So we're not moving nearly as fast as many other African countries, and the African continent is quite exciting at the moment in the way that many countries are moving towards more open borders. We're not moving very fast, and in some respects we are moving the other way. But it is a combination of the two.
And how then do you begin to balance, what government says, especially through some of these proposed changes, to say that they're trying to account for everyone who is in the country as well, and making sure that the distribution of the services is also one that is planned for? So how do you then, plan for the big possible influxes, but at the same time making sure that you do not deter visitors from also coming?
Well, visitors come under visitor visas, right? And those are 3-month visas, or in some cases, in many countries, they don't have to have visas. If they're here for longer than that period, then they should be detected. I think that, you have to make it possible, and I believe that there are many tourists in South Africa at the moment. I'm currently in London, on my way back soon. But that there is a big tourist season, and that's great because it's really important for the South African economy to have that kind of business, foreign exchange, lots of jobs created. I think that can happen. I think that the Department of Home Affairs has been in a terrible mess. There's no question about it. The SABC report makes incredible reading. There are so many issues in terms of corruption, mismanagement, systems not working, systems not talking to each other. A lot of very, very good proposals, but it doesn't look like the resources are being pumped into the Department of Home Affairs to make all these changes possible, the changes that they want to do and the changes that are proposed by the SABC Commission.
And Prof, thank you so much for your time. And hopefully when you're back from London, then we get to, talk a bit more and just chat about some of the advantages, particularly when we talk about free travel and all of that, and just how some of the challenges have made it difficult for the work of the department, as we have seen over the course of years. That was Professor Hirsch, who is the NSI Migration Governance Reform Project Director.